Did you know that some IP addresses are off limits for your devices? In this video, we'll uncover the reserved IPv4 addresses that you can't assign to individual devices, from broadcast addresses to loopback addresses. Whether you're troubleshooting network issues or just curious about how IP addressing works, this is your ultimate guide to understanding these special addresses. Ready to master IPv4 addressing? Let's dive in.
In this course, we will see the reserved IP addresses that cannot be assigned to individual devices on a network, that is, any end devices. Among the reserved IP addresses is the address of local broadcast. If an IP device wants to communicate with all the others on the same local network, then it will send a packet to the address 255.255.255.255, and this package will be broadcast over the entire network. However, as it is a local broadcast, it will not be able to pass a router. That is, the router will drop the packet. It's a bit the role of the router. This address, 255.255.255.255, can also be called a universal IP broadcast. We then have the address of broadcast a network. For example, let's say on this topology we have the network 192.168.1.0 with a mask of /24. That is to say, 255.255.255.0. With this mask, it means that the IP range goes from 192.168.1.0 to 255. A broadcast is a special address that allows communication with all hosts on the same network. This packet will only be propagated to machines on the same subnet. The broadcast address is the highest address in the IP range network. That is, the one where the bits of the host part are all 1. For the 192.168.1.0 network, the broadcast address is 192.168.1.255. In the example, our address is part of a Class C. The default mask is therefore 255.255.255.0. A broadcast can therefore be propagated to a maximum of 254 hosts. Now imagine that we would use the network of Class A, for example 10.0.0.0 with a default mask /8. The broadcast address would therefore be 10.255.255.255. If all addresses of this class are used, it would mean that a ping of the broadcast address would receive a response from over 16 million hosts. The broadcast address can be routed via the intranet of his company and also on the internet. In the 90s, a popular DOS attack used broadcasts to send loads of traffic to victims, and as a result, victims could no longer receive or send legitimate traffic. This is why Cisco IOS no longer supports broadcasts. This is an option which is disabled by default and which can be re-enabled with the command IP-directed broadcast, to be done in global configuration mode. It is recommended that you leave this option disabled unless you have a specific use case. Routers have disabled this option by default, starting with Cisco IOS Release 12. In the iOS configuration file, the command written by default is no IP-directed broadcast. To return to the reserved IP addresses, we are at the address local loopback. It is used to allow the system to test its own network card. The network address is one of the reserved and unusable addresses for a host. For example, the address 192.168.1.0 cannot be assigned because this is the network address class C. A network address allows the router to forward an IP packet over the appropriate network based on its routing table. And the address 0000 is an address not routable used to designate an invalid, unknown, or unreachable destination. In routing, it generally designates the default route. It can be seen as a road leading to the rest of the Internet. That is to say, that any IP that is not part of its own network will be sent to the Internet.